welcome back to another episode of Beauty in the Chaos! Woohoo! Today, we're going to talk all about how in the world do I do digital youth group in 2021. Join us for the ride, and here we go! How in the world do I do virtual youth group with amazing middle schoolers that are slightly insane? Well, here's the deal. Planning is a big part of it. And so there's going to be multiple parts to this video. So you can kind of see what happens behind the scenes of digital middle school ministry. So the first thing that's super important, the very first thing that is what you got to think about is when you are doing virtual, it takes a whole other level of planning that in-person does not require. The concepts of ministering to middle schoolers is the same, but there is differences to online versus in-person. Number one, the very first thing you have to think of, they're not physically here. And you're probably like, well, yeah, that's online. Of course they're not physically here. Here's the deal, for middle schoolers, and if any of you middle schoolers are out here, you're going to know what I'm talking about. Middle schoolers are super energetic, and they have to get out their energy somehow. So whenever I'm planning youth nights, it's very important that we have some sort of physical activity. Now, it's really hard to do that when they're not physically in the building or not physically with you. So when you're planning digital, you have to think about an activity that is engaging. It may not necessarily need to be a physical activity, but something that can engage them online. The second thing you got to think about when you're doing digital is what are your tech or technological capabilities? Middle schoolers eat this up. So if you're a middle schooler watching this, props to you guys being so involved in our live streamed youth group and all the tech stuff that we do, okay? So what is your tech capability? I will give you a hint that we are going to have a special guest come in on Thursday. And what that requires on the tech side is the other person who is the special guest, you got to make sure their tech is clean and make sure their tech is good. So communicating and coordinating with kind of all these other people is a big deal. There's so many moving parts. You've got the entire volunteer team, the other person who's going to be the guest, and then you've got me managing the stuff behind the scenes. So tech is a really big thing. Engagement, and not like getting married. That's not what I'm saying. Engagement means how you're going to keep the kids interested in your videos. So doing different things. I know for me, I like bringing in pictures, I like bringing in videos, I like music, and luckily we have the program and software to do that. And so you got to kind of change what you're doing, and we're also blessed with music too. So really planning how to engage middle schoolers. They need a lot of stimulus. They need a lot of different forms of teaching for them to connect to the material. And it's really important to do. And also, like, be open to when you're giving talks and teaching, answer their questions. Middle schoolers have amazing questions. And then we also use different platforms to have small groups. So they can still do small groups together through Zoom. You have used Google Hangout before. So different avenues for them to still communicate even though they're online and see each other. That's kind of the basic of behind the scenes of what I'm thinking about when I'm planning for Edge. You're going to see another part of this where I'm totally going to be wearing different clothing, so don't be alarmed, because I'm going to show you what we do actually a day of setting up and all the pieces that go into setting things up. So, I'll see you in a couple days, everyone. Peace out. Oh, hold on. I gotta do that. Now it's the day of middle school ministry online. What do I do? Well, one of the things that I think is very important is a social media presence. And for us here in youth ministry, we actually have a pretty active Instagram. And let me show you what I mean. This is our Instagram, so for all you middle schoolers out there or anyone else, you can follow us on St. Greg's Youth, and you can see exactly what we got going on. We got a little bit of everything on here. The bills, sometimes we just post inspirational quotes, some videos, some random things. There's even memes on there, videos of us. And then a lot of times what we like to do is we like to post what's going on in youth ministry the night of. So for tonight, I ended up posting this right here. We're going to be talking about on youth ministry tonight, so with the middle schoolers, we're going to be talking about Jesus as an influential person in history. So we're starting a new series called Iconic, and kind of looking at the humanity of Jesus, which is awesome, like the humanity of who he is. And it's an interesting aspect of Jesus that many people don't talk about, or that middle schoolers are wondering. You know, they ask questions. I've actually had middle schoolers ask me questions like, did Jesus ever get grounded? Like, what was he like as a kid? Did he always obey his parents? Like, what was he when he was like 4 years old? Was he already speaking when he was born? Middle schoolers' best questions ever. And honestly, there's not really clear answers on that. Because in the Bible, it doesn't really talk about his childhood except for a couple times. So tonight we're going to be starting that series. And on the Instagram post, I kind of posed the question of who is the most influential person in your life. Cool thing that I'm going to be doing later is I'll be going live on Instagram on our story with a few of our core members to kind of talk about the topic and what we're talking about to pique their interest and engage them. Next, because we're online digital, you gotta make sure all of the aspects of digital are all set. So for me, like I was explaining before, engagement is super important. And so I've had to coordinate with the people involved that they're all going to be coming and that all the tech works. I will be doing Skype practices with the people involved, but making sure that all of your pictures are set and ready to go. These are the two things that I'm going to be showing tonight, and that they're going to be referencing during small groups. So making sure that this is, number one, visible to read, clear, and all I had to do was screenshot, and I'm able to put these pictures on YouTube for the kids to see. So super important, and there you go. Make sure all the material you have is ready ahead of time. Okay, and then the last piece, I mean, there's other pieces that I'll be doing closer to actual night, especially making sure the tech works, because that's a big thing. But I'm going to go through the talk, the teaching point, and make sure that, number one, I know what I'm speaking about, and number two, that the content is appropriate. Now, I've already planned this and already have looked at the material, so I know that the content is appropriate. And so when I'm talking about content being appropriate is the wording, and specifically how I want to share it with the middle schoolers and how I want to present the material. Do I want to change the wording a little bit so it's a concept they can understand a little better? Do I want to add maybe some knowledge that I have? So I got to go through the talk and make sure that the content is appropriate for the kids and that I know what I'm talking about. And whenever we are in person, or, you know, I like to have the volunteers give talks, and it's really important that you give the volunteers an opportunity to do so, because God has given them gifts and talents that I don't have. I may have them, but they're unique to each person. So each person brings a unique perspective and understanding of the faith to the youth nights, and that middle schoolers can connect to so many different people. So having core members give talks is actually really powerful. For us, we call our volunteers core members, just so you guys know who's watching this. Alright guys, so I'm doing this from my cell phone right now, videotaping kind of the behind the scenes of literally what happens during an Edge, like when we're live. Now, I just finished Edge. I just finished recording, and it's a little bit of a mess right now around everywhere, but it's important for you to see what I'm doing. Oh, well listen. This is for Jesus, okay? A little bit of what I'm seeing when I'm working on doing Edge. And all of the parts, I know there's weird lighting right now, but you'll see why in a second. Okay, this is what you're used to seeing, right? The background. It's nothing super exciting. But this is where everything happens. It's where everything kind of works and where I control it all, okay? Right here. You will see, like most YouTubers and streamers, I have a ring light. My phone does go there if I need to use the phone, but I have my computer right here, And I'm going to look this way so you can see. And this is how I run live YouTube with the kids. There's all these options over here. I can man music. I can add photos. I can change screens. I can do all this stuff right here. And, yeah. And I'm controlling all of this when it's live, all right? So when I'm live, I'm controlling all the buttons, and I'm figuring out exactly what I'm doing. And I also have, microphones right there that I use, and there's settings on here. I also use these to hear exactly what we sound like. I use the book, and I have to eat, and, I'm manning all this stuff during youth group. So that's like the setup for exactly what I do. Let me know if you want more like specific, but that's kind of what I do behind the scenes. Hey everyone! Thanks so much for joining for the second video here in the series of Beauty in the Chaos. It was really fun to show everyone what behind the scenes looks like for doing digital youth groups specifically for middle school. I really enjoyed kind of showing you guys what the ropes are and everything that goes into it because it is a lot. So I hope you enjoyed it. Now as we end this video, I do want to bring a ministry moment. Sometimes as a youth minister, your job can seem really unrewarding, and it's a very difficult job that is often unseen, that people don't realize everything that goes into it, and even as a youth minister, you can sometimes feel unseen. And this is not for me to be like, make sure you put me on a pedestal and love youth ministers and blah, blah, blah. No, it's just the reality of what our job is. We often work in the shadows, and it's okay. You don't get into ministry to be a star. That's not why you get into ministry. You get into ministry to lead kids to Christ. That's exactly why you do it. So for this ministry moment, it was a super powerful thing that happened. So we've been on a little bit of a stint with doing digital for a little bit due to various situations in ministry. We had to go digital for a few weeks. And digital's hard, and sometimes you can feel like with digital that you're not being effective or really getting to the kids the way you can in person. You're not having face-to-face reactions like you're used to having in person. Like, you're just not. You have a screen and maybe some likes on it. Maybe they're chatting and you see them on Zoom for small group, and that's about it. Like, you don't really see them in person. But this moment's really powerful because it shows that the digital was doing something for these kids, or is doing something for these kids. So what happened? So basically, last week was our last digital, hopefully for a little bit, but our last digital, and we started a whole new topic, and we were talking about Jesus as an iconic person and how he's influential, and he's someone that we should care about and follow. And we got to small group. Now, in small group, me and the core team, so me and the volunteers, had a plan. We were ready to go. We had questions laid out, activities, yada, yada. But the biggest thing that we need to understand as leaders in ministry is that Holy Spirit's always in charge. Always. Sometimes we have to just get out of the way and let the Holy Spirit just guide it. Because, yeah, we had a plan, but the Holy Spirit said, nah, the kids have other things they want to talk about. And in this small group, these kids brought up, mind you, these are grades 5 through 8. They're not high schoolers. They're not young adults. They're grades 5 through 8. Do we have some young adults and high schoolers on the core team that kind of help the conversation? Yes. But the middle schoolers kind of speared this conversation. So grades 5 through 8, we're asking questions about saints, small s, big S. Do we need to pray to them? What's interceding? Can't we just pray to God himself? What's mediation? How is Christ the one mediator? And then we even got to heaven, hell, and purgatory. And if anyone ever thinks that middle schoolers can't handle serious conversations or higher theological thinking, they may not know the terms of the things that they're talking about, but they can handle it because they were asking these questions. They wanted answers on these questions. And what happened was, we have a certain time set aside for small groups, but Holy Spirit's like, nah, we're just going to stay here longer. And so I actually had to end the YouTube live with Zoom still going. So I had to end it early and then keep Zoom going so we could continue these conversations about 15 minutes after when Edge would have ended. So it was a really beautiful ministry moment that I am so happy that we got to experience. So I just thought you'd all enjoy that. And thanks for watching. And I hope you all have a great day. See you guys next time on Beauty